Hi guys, welcome back again to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Zina. Finally here to answer some of your questions. Some people asked me how I moved to the United States, and I presume you also want to know the questions that I was asked during my interviews. So let us just start the video. So let me just make this clear here. Not two interviews are the same. So there are some similarities between someone's interview and another person's. Let me give you guys an example of how an immigrant visa and non-immigrant visa interview can be. So the first thing you should know or have at the back of your mind is that they're going to ask you questions in badges, meaning that they're going to ask you personal questions about you and your spouse, work-related questions, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to be reading from my computer, and then when I remember the questions I was asked, I can speak more about the questions I'm reading from my computer. Is that okay? Fine. So I'm going to be looking down just in case you're wondering what she's doing. I'm reading from my computer, okay? The first thing you should know, like I said, personal questions. You're going to ask you questions like your spouse name, date of birth, and place of birth. They did not ask me this question, really. They didn't ask me this question because spouse's name is already on their system. So they're not going to ask you this question, but bear in mind that they might ask you this particular question. How did you meet your spouse? You will be expected to provide key details about how and when you came to meet your spouse, whether online or in person. Very good question. You guys, this question is very good. They're going to ask you if it's an immigrant visa, a spousal, or a K1 visa, that's the fiance visa. I came into this country, the United States, with a spousal, immigrant visa, IV visa, and this was one of the questions that I was asked. So they asked me, yo, where did you meet your spouse? And I told them, and they needed more story. They're like, okay, tell me, how did it go? Like, how did it start? Where did it start? And then I answered them. What they wanted, like, a full detail. How you met your spouse? Was it online? Was it in person? Where exactly online did you meet your partner? Did you meet your partner? Did you meet him in a restaurant, in church, and all of that? Key details is the word, because as you are talking, they are typing. And they might even ask you the question again. As you're still doing the interview, they might ask you the same question again. Did you say you met your spouse there? And if you lied, you are not going to remember your lies, right? Unless you have actually practiced the lie, but they will ask you the question over and over again, especially the question about your spouse. Where did you meet your spouse and all of that? Okay. What did you do for your first date? You guys asked me this question, and I answered. I feel like they already got the necessary answers from your spouse. I don't know how they do it. Maybe he or she did an interview, and when you are there for your own interview, they look at the answers that both of you have given, right? So you need to be sincere, no lying whatsoever. This applies for both the immigrant and the non-immigrant visa. I'm going to talk about that later in this video. When and where did you get married? I remember that they asked this question, and I feel like they have a sixth sense to know if you're lying. Really, they do, because of the way you're going to say the story. If you portray yourself as being as a liar, they're going to read it from your countenance, from your behavior. But if what you're saying is true, your story will make sense from one part of the story to the other. You're not losing your thoughts or whatever. You are not slaughtering. You are just saying the right thing, and they are going to understand you and feel like you are saying the right thing. Like I said before, they are going to repeat the question. So you say you met there. What happened when you met your spouse? Tell me your first day. You said your first day was so and so. What day, what time, where, how was it? And if you're lying, you can keep track on all of this, right? And bear it in mind that your visa will be long. It's going to take time, at least 20 minutes, if not more. Yeah, that's it. So they're going to ask you how long you were in the relationship before getting married, who attended the ceremony. You guys, this is a very crucial part of an immigrant visa interview. Yeah, so they're going to ask you about the wedding. Where was the wedding? How many people attended the wedding? Who attended the wedding? And this is the time they're going to ask you to show proof of your wedding. I'm going to make a different video on the things you should bring to your interview as an immigrant or as a non-immigrant. So watch out for that video, okay? Moving forward, where did you go on your honeymoon? I remember the lady asked me, because as I'm reading these questions, I'm remembering since it's been a while I went for that interview. Yeah, so I can remember her asking me. It was a lady, right? White lady. She might be American or Spanish. I really don't know her ethnicity, but she asked me, yeah, how did your husband propose? And I'm like, propose? The man did not propose, man. He did not propose. Now, if you're watching this video and you're in Nigeria, you will know that some Nigerian men do not propose. They're not going to kneel down one knee to ask you to marry them. Like, what? So I told her, well, my husband did not propose. Being that it was a long distance relationship, he just called me one day and he was like he would love his parents to come see my people. And I'm like, are you proposing? And he was proposing, right? That was how it happened. And when I told her, she gave me a faint smile, yeah. So they're going to ask you these questions really, and the way you answer will show that you are sincere, you are saying the truth. Right. Moving on. What are your hobbies and interests? What about your spouse? They didn't ask me this question, but if they had asked me, I would have answered on point. What do you normally do to celebrate your birthdays? They didn't ask me that. They might ask you that. I do not know. Do you and your spouse have any children? What are the names and ages? They asked me this question, but they asked me about my spouse's family. Yeah, they asked me about his family. They asked me how many siblings does he have. They asked me their ages. They asked me where are they now. Yeah, they asked me those questions, and of course I gave it to them even without thinking a lot because I already know the answer. So the next question here is, what do you normally do to celebrate your birthdays? I wasn't asked this question. Do you and your spouse have any children? What are their names and ages? So I wasn't asked this question because I went to the interview with my daughter. Yeah, so no question as such. Has your spouse been married before? So they asked me this question. Obviously, they're going to ask you. So they asked me if my spouse have been married before. They also asked me, have you been married before? And of course, the answer was no. None of us have been married before. Okay. What is your and your spouse's religious background? I wasn't asked this question. They might ask you, so you're going to answer the question, right? Another thing I would love to say is that you should be courageous. You should not be afraid. Just be courageous, be calm. Don't be like me. Like, I was so nervous. I really don't know why I was nervous. Maybe I should answer that question in my next video, why I was nervous. What was the last gift your spouse gave you? I didn't answer this question. The answer would have been, I don't know. Like, it's been a while. Long distance marriage and all of that. Does your spouse have any children from previous relationship? What are their names and ages? Will you be taking care of them when in the US? They didn't ask me this question. They might ask you, yeah. What are your spouse's parents' name? Have you met them before? Yeah, like I said, they asked me about my spouse's family, and this question was also asked. So they asked me, have you met your spouse's family? Though you got married, so you should have met them, right? But there's some situation where maybe you didn't meet them, so they're going to ask you if you've met your spouse's family. What is your spouse's educational background? They didn't ask me this. What they asked me was that where do my spouse work? And of course, I know where he works and I know the address of his workplace. I need to know all of these because you are married, right? So you need to know this. If you are applying for a K1 visa, that's the fiancé visa or fiancé visa, wherever, you need to know these things. When did you last see your spouse? This question should be asked. Of course, they asked this question. Do you have any relative in the United States of America? Yeah, they might ask you this question, but they didn't ask me really. Did they ask me? No, I wasn't asked, but this particular question was asked when I went for a non-immigrant visa. Where will you live in the US? So apart from asking you when you met your spouse, have you met your spouse's parents, family, how old are they, how did he propose, your marriage, who attended, what kind of marriage did you have? They asked me that question. Was it a court marriage, any other type of marriage? And you have to answer as a Nigerian traditional marriage. They also asked, where will you be living in the United States? And of course, they have the address on their system. So you have to know, right? Immigration questions like, have you been to the United States before? They asked me that question. I can remember vividly. They asked me, have you been to the United States before? And I said yes. Do you or your spouse have any criminal conviction? They didn't ask me that. Maybe they might ask you, I don't know. Have you ever been refused a visa? They're going to ask you that. Another question they asked me, I just remembered, right? Have you ever been to any other country apart from Nigeria? And of course I have, and I had to list them. Yeah, for a non-immigrant interview, like you've heard, I've been to the United States of America as a non-immigrant. I applied for a visitor visa, and I'm going to tell you guys the question that I'm most probably going to ask you. Why are you going to the United States? I'm going for my brother's graduation. She asked me, do you have any siblings? Duh, my brother is there. She asked me, do I intend coming back? I said, yeah, I'm a fifth-year medical student, right? I should come back to complete my education, right? She asked me, do you plan on writing the USMLE, the United States Medical License Examination? And I said, actually, no, I do not have a plan to write that exam. My plan, when I'm done with medical school, is to come back to my country, write the exam in my country to practice medicine. However, if I wanted to practice medicine out of my country, the US is not my first choice. I would love to practice medicine in the UK or in Ireland, wherever, but not in the US. US is my last choice. She also asked me a lot of questions. Who is the person sponsoring your travel? She asked me, how much am I going to be getting from him? She asked me, where do my sponsor work? She asked me, where are my other siblings? Have you been to any country apart from Nigeria? And I said, yeah. She asked me, how long am I going to be staying in the United States? I answered, just for 2 weeks. And she asked me, how much do I have in my bank account? And I answered, usually they don't have your sponsor's bank statement to know if they can afford your stay in that country, really. And what else? I think that was it. After the question, she was satisfied and she said, you have been granted visa. And she was like, one more thing, do you have a boyfriend in the United States? And I said, yes, I do. What does that mean? I did not lie. I should have just lied, right? But I said, yes, I do. And then she just smiled, and I smiled, and I lied. So these are the questions you should expect in your interview. And I'm going to say this again. Please be sincere. Say the truth. Yeah. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, please click the thumb up button, share the video, subscribe to my channel for more videos. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to see you guys in my next video. Bye.